I wasn't sure if he was calling in or videoing in.
Okay, well, either way,
I
yeah, I
told him-
figure we'll do his whole section separate. I'll edit it out the beginning and end a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I can do ours, add it in at the front end, or we do this as a separate, its own separate half-hour thing too.
whatever you
I
want.
also thought maybe we could do like a live something or other if you're coming over still on Wednesday.
I don't have anything going on, so
All right.
we'll just
Yeah, totally up to you, bud.
we'll just take my
more
fuel
welcome
cost
to
out of
have
the
you.
profits.
Huh?
We'll just take my fuel cost out of the profits that we're making on this $1 billion podcast.
I will take you to the lunch.
The panini?
And no, like a real lunch. Like I will
Oh.
buy lunch for you.
I want to meet
I'm
Pam.
not that cheap.
I'm just coming to meet Pam.
I think it would be a great moment of gold for that conversation to be recorded in some form. So I think it'd be a good day to do either a live podcast through Spreaker or we do a YouTube live or something.
Yeah, we can do something like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I might have told him 10:15. I'm not sure. So.
He's coming in right now.
Oh, okay.
He's connecting the audio. I don't know. I've never seen that before until you came on.
Because I'm using my computer. He asked if I want to use my computer or if I want to call in.
Good morning, Brandon.
Hey, good morning, fellas. How you doing?
What's up, Brandon?
Doing fantastic. It's kind of already recording. For some reason, with me working only 3 days during the winter and me not doing anything else, I can't keep my schedule straight. So
Yeah, I can imagine that.
sorry for all the trying to switch things around yesterday, but yeah, we're getting it to work. So
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad we can make it work.
I really appreciate you coming on. I've seen you guys, or been at least aware of you guys for, I mean, years before I started doing the truck. You were one of the first trucks that I knew of in Michigan that really had a presence. It seems like it was you and then Patty Matters for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, they're on the west side of the state, right? Patty Matters.
Yeah, and I could have swore I've seen your guys' trucks over on this side of the state. And maybe it was just for on and off events or something like that. But I remember seeing your trucks in person somewhere. So
Yeah, we weren't our first couple of years, actually we don't travel west very often unless it's like Elgin, we go out there, but we were in Jackson a lot, like 2020s. We started going to Jackson and we were there probably every other week. So
oh, yeah. You definitely have a huge presence here, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's 2 hours away, man, but it's always been worth it in this relationship. So it's been, I kind of wish we had that strong of a following here, but yeah, Jackson's something else.
Yeah. Now the food truck capital of the central Michigan.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet Skippy was just the opposite though. He wishes he had that following in Jackson and didn't have to drive. I mean, same thing. He has to drive 2 hours to get to everywhere.
Shut up. I'm working on it.
We're working on
Yeah.
it. Hey,
I'm a little fish in a big pond, okay?
Yes, you are. But you're growing.
We're trying.
It's not a
Over
fat joke.
1,600 now.
I was being sincere.
So Brandon, so you and I have talked on the phone a few times when I was, going through this journey, starting out in this journey. I know I reached out and we talked and you gave me some extremely helpful advice. And we talked about kind of where you started. I think that's the first question that I think that we want for our listeners to hear is you guys have a Nom Nom empire. I guess I would call it, but me being small, anything more than one truck is an empire to me. So what, I guess, where did you start from? If you want to take us kind of back to the beginning and just kind of give us the short story of how you started in this journey and where you're going.
Sure, man. And I'll give you a lot more details than I would give most people, I guess. So, where I actually started the food truck business was in around 2015, to be honest. So I got my business partner now, who is my good buddy back then. He had a different business partner, and he started off doing hot dogs out of a cart and things like that. And then he he escalated to a trailer and doing hot dogs out of a trailer, and then he turned it into a grilled cheese trailer. And then he started doing hibachi, but he was doing traditional hibachi, where you get the chefs, you get the full plates. He was doing traditional hibachi out of a truck. And then he ended up going to a steakhouse. And, I was kind of just following his journey and seeing how much they were growing. It was really exciting to see like them go from like a hot dog cart on the corner of downtown to actually a full blown food truck that was doing hibachi, and then a restaurant even. And so it was cool to watch that journey, and just talk to him about it. And then I came up, he's like, I was working full time at that time. And he's like, hey, I got, they had a trailer that they were trying to get rid of. And he's like, maybe you should get in the food truck industry. So he kind of asked me, he's like, maybe you should get into it. I found it really interesting, but honestly, at that time, I didn't have too much culinary background. So I'm like, okay, but what am I going to sell? And, funny thing is in our town, it was in Mount Pleasant. They didn't have any barbecue restaurants. There was one at, like a year prior that I used to go to all the time, and I love their food. And, they closed up shop, and I was like, man, there needs to be good barbecue in this town. And, but I knew nothing about barbecue at that point. But I did know the owners of that restaurant. And so I went out to him, and it was a guy around my age. And I was like, hey, man, how would you like to open up a food truck? And so we started talking, and he actually became my business partner. So I owned a barbecue food truck for 2 years. And that's kind of how I got into it, was that, I saw my buddies, they kind of propelled it in the area. Like 2015, there wasn't very many food trucks around at that time, like in this area. Honestly, I think they might have been the only one at that point in central Michigan. Maybe there were some one-offs, but I don't really remember. So he kind of propelled me into the food truck industry initially. And I never went full time with it. It was always just a part-time gig. We started doing Soaring Eagle Casino. We did all their concerts. We did caterings and things like that. I mean, I probably didn't do any more than, I don't know, 15, 20 events a year with that barbecue. And then a guy ended up coming to us. We ended up slowing down. It was the winter time. And me and my old business partner, we kind of decided, like, it was just a part-time gig, and we kind of want to move on to other things. And a guy from Hope, Michigan came and offered to buy the name of the company, buy the equipment and things like that. So I end up selling the barbecue, and there's a guy still running it, the name, and that's still ongoing, and he's still growing and operating, which is really cool to see a brand that we started still going.
Who is it?
But then I got out of it for a couple of years. So
what was that brand, Brandon, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it was Roadhogs Barbecue.
Okay.
So, and then it was a really cool guy named Terry. He ended up buying it, and I think he was kind of just running it as a hobby, but I'm seeing him more and more, and we still stay in touch, and he's continuing to grow. And he's done some different things with the brand, but it's still cool that it's out there. I mean, my wife hand drew the logo, and then we had it digitized. So I mean, it's just a cool thing to see. Things still growing. But then in 2018, I got a hold of my buddy that used to own the hibachi restaurants and the trucks, and he was actually out of it for about a year then too. Things, the restaurant industry is a beast, so it's definitely something a lot different than food trucks. And I'm always getting asked, when are we opening a restaurant? And from my experience, that answer is never. So there's just like with the overhead, like what I really liked about food trucks is that we can go to the people, we can go to the events, we can go where there's a demand. If you got a food truck, or if you got a restaurant in a bad location, there's not much you can do to change that. You're pretty much stuck. You have to rely on marketing or something to get people in there, and it's really hard to. I feel like it's hard to be successful with the amount of overhead that you have. So honestly, like, our goal is to continue to open more trucks. But anyways, I got back with him in 2018. I started talking to my buddy, and we met at like a coffee shop, and I was like, hey man, we should do something. I was like, we both own businesses. And it was not food related, our meeting at first, to be honest. We were actually looking at a different type of business. And then during that whole meeting, we were discussing a different business the entire time. And then at the very end, I was like, you know what? I was like, we still have connections. We can do events. I was like, we can still do the Soaring Eagle Casino. We can still do a couple events. And he's like, He's like, well, he's like, I've never wanted to get back into the food industry, but he's like, I do have equipment. And so he had like a cart still and some tents and things like that. And he's like, so I talked him into it, and we started doing events at the Sorneo Casino. And so we started off with a tent and a cart at the Sorneo Casino. And our first event was we only did like 12 events the first year. So that's kind of my background is actually like sales and technology and retail and marketing and things like that. I didn't have a culinary background. I've learned a lot about barbecue and, what we're doing now. But I think that's kind of what I think that's what makes us different is that, like there's some chefs in this world. There's people that they have a passion for food and a passion for cooking. And they really want to, they want people to like taste their, like, basically their experience and their background, and they want to put everything into it. And that's really cool. I mean, there's some really good chefs on food trucks. I could think of like 5 or 6 like true chefs on food trucks that make amazing food. And, but there's also people that I think like that make really good food that, that bring value to customers, that are able to serve fast, that are able like built to feed the masses. It's not personalized dishes for, you know what I'm saying? So like, and that's kind of what we do. We're kind of fast casual. We wanted to build something that this whole thing built around the concerts. We had to serve people as fast as possible. We wanted a high quality food that we could bring value, that we could be quick, and that would be filling and portable. And that's why they're in wraps. So we didn't want people walking around with a plate and a fork at a concert when they had a drink in their hand. So we put everything inside of a wrap to make everything super portable and super convenient. And that's kind of how we started, man. It was kind of an accident that it blew up. It was supposed to just be a hobby. We were just,
how's
talking about coffee.
How's that hobby going?
Yeah, exactly, man. I need to find new hobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting that you came from that sales technology background. Bert and I doing competition barbecue, like 75% of the guys in there are IT guys.
Yeah.
And
Are they really?
Yeah, that's the professional field I came from directly from this. My only culinary background is managing one of the busiest McDonald's in the state for 5 years. So
that's demanding.
Well, I brought a lot of that with me. And we're kind of the same way, quick service, quick casual type of thing. And it's my whole menu was designed to move product quickly. It's not our number one priority, but it's there,
and I mean, there's people that are faster than us. I mean, our average ticket time is, about 90 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on who's working. But, we like to be under that 3 minute, like 3 minute is like too slow for us. So anything under 3 minutes, we're content with, but we really strive to be about 1.5 to 2 minutes per person. But I mean, there's guys out here that can, I'm shocked at like how fast they can move, there's some guys that are doing 30-second ticket times, so.
I mean, you and I have talked about that. I think I'm pretty fast.
Yeah.
Just
those little arms and legs can only go so fast, Skippy.
Hey, shut up.
What, Brandon, when you first started, what was your biggest challenge then versus your biggest challenges now that you've got? I mean, you're opening your 5th vessel now. So, I mean,
yeah, we actually, I mean, total, I've probably had 7 units total, but honestly, right now this year we only plan on running 3, and then we're building a 4th. And I haven't really told too many people this, but we're kind of moving towards maybe more like a permanent location for a couple units, like food truck parks.
Mm-hmm.
I know I talked about the restaurant industry, but the food truck parks, when they have a variety of food trucks and you're in tourist towns and things like that, they do bring in the crowd, and that's kind of what you need. But yeah, so right now we're running 3 this year, and hope to have 4 running by the end of the year. And then, we'll see where it goes from there. But the challenge is obviously, so in the beginning,
where to start right now, but
yeah. The challenges in the beginning, we're trying to figure out how to make everything work. I mean, coming up with a menu. And that's why if anybody's starting out on a food truck, I always recommend piloting your menu. Because here's the thing, I've seen too many people fully invest in a food truck. They go out and they spend 60, 70, $80,000 on a food truck. They start getting events booked even, and then they come and ask me, what should I sell? And I'm like, what? I'm like, that should be the number. That should be the first thing that you come up with, and or they have an idea of what to sell and they go out there and it's not working. They have a beautiful truck. They're fully invested. They're usually in debt, and then their product isn't selling, so that gave us an opportunity to really start off with the tent sucked. I mean, setting up a tent and a hot dog cart, we were seasonal. It was that part sucked. And then we had to figure out a good menu item to sell to people that was different. We didn't want to be the traditional menu that you see at like concerts and things like that. So, trying to be creative and trying to make a good quality food and be fast and, really get our name out there. And honestly, I kid you not, our first concert, we didn't serve that many, probably served 200 or 300 people. I bet you 250 people asked what a hibachi wrap was, so that was our biggest challenge, trying to keep the speed, but also trying to explain to people what was in the wrap and what a hibachi wrap was. And, and that continued for probably about a year. I bet you 90% of people asked what a hibachi wrap was. And now we're seeing it more like 10 to 15% of people ask that question. And now our biggest challenge is obviously staffing. Trying to find the right people to run these things because we're not on the units as much, and that we had to be more focused on marketing, more focused on expanding, and now it's just a lot more difficult to find people to run these units and the way that we would want them ran. You know what I mean? So like, it's hard to find people that want to treat the business like it's their business. So. That's
I
our
think it's
number one
probably
challenge.
a little unfair to,
Expect that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we want it, but yeah, I think we try to push that and get disappointed when they don't have the same level of investment, when they don't have the same level of investment. But yeah, I think there's good people out there. Man, I like go through a drive-through at McDonald's and see like an outstanding 16-year-old that for no other reason than that's just their personality. Like, I wonder if I can pilfer him.
Recruit them, right? That's always every time I go out to eat, man, I'm like prospecting.
Yeah.
So
I haven't got big enough where I can do that yet.
And just real quick on that biggest challenge, in 2021, we went through 28 employees, man. We went through 28 that year. So we were constantly training, constantly going through people. I mean, that was a struggle that we were dealing with, and our payroll was huge. It was enormous. It was enormous. And then, but that was our struggle, is that always having you have to be consistent across all units, across your brand, or it'll give you a bad reputation, and people have it. It won't be good the first time; it'll be good the second time. And I really want a consistency. And when you have that much turnover, it's hard to be consistent. So that was a huge challenge for us.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Like I said, I haven't got big enough where I can get to that point yet, but I can tell that when I have one of my girls there and she's helping out and I want to take a break from making everything and she makes everything, there's been numerous times where I've had to look at her and say, hey, that might be a little bit, that handful is just a smidge too much.
Yeah, exactly.
But the joke is like, you're giving away the house. She's gotten a lot better, but it's the fact that at least she knows how to make things, so I can, if I need to walk away or go to the bathroom or something like that, it's good.
Yeah, that's super helpful, man. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we can't put too much, stress on these people. But like I did come up with like it's like a walkthrough on how to so that was one of the things I did do, is I laminated pages on how to do every single thing. So like if someone was new and they weren't there, they could always refer back to this like pamphlet or this, this thing that I came up with, manual to tell you how to make everything, to how to do everything. I mean, no joke. It got to the point where I had to put at the end, like, say thank you to the customer. And like, dude, it was almost childish, but at the same time, I wanted them to, I want to try to teach customer service too at the same time. So like there was things
you got to cover every base. You got to cover every base.
Yeah. And I mean, I started seeing improvements, but I would still get complaints from customers like, hey, I ordered a regular wrap this time and it was like half the size. And I ordered a sumo and it was the size of a regular. And, so like, I was still getting complaints about consistency, but right now I do got a solid team. We're looking to expand this year just to add a couple people, but I stay open during the winter to keep these people on. I got some rock stars right now, and like if it was seasonal positions, they probably wouldn't be able to stay with me. So we stay open in the winter to make sure that they have work. And so we're in a good spot right now as far as our core group of staff. So
now
took a while to get there.
you mentioned expansion, and I know that you were talking about. I think you opened your fifth truck, or you have your fifth truck available, but only going to run 3. I guess at what point in the Nom Nom Ninja timeline did you think, okay, we're ready to add a second truck, we're ready to add a third truck? Is it mainly because you are traveling a lot? I mean, I see you guys everywhere as far as going to different places, and there wasn't just enough business where you're at, and you wanted to capitalize, or am I off on that?
Like I said, man, this whole thing was not planned. Because we wanted to do it. It was fun. We just wanted to do it for side money. We had a fun product. It was fun for us. It was fun to go to these events and hang out and socialize with people and see new things. And, and then it got to the point where COVID, and I have to give a mention, a shout out to Kona Ice, because, and Saginaw, we, in 2020, all of our events got canceled and we were going to shut down for the year. And I was like, because of COVID, and I was like, there's no point in being open. There's no point in being out there. And at the very end of 2020, like August, Kona Ice is like, why don't you come with us to a subdivision? And I'm like, what? No, man. Like, I only do events. I'm not going to somebody's house. And he's like, no, we started doing subdivisions and it's really busy. And I was like, I don't think so. He's like, just give it a try. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I kid you not, we did just as much of that subdivision as we did at any concert at the Soaring Eagle. And I was blown away. And I was like, why is this happening? And he's like, people like, and I think that's when restaurants were starting to shut down and everything, and the options were becoming limited. And he's like, we do subdivision tours now. So for a while we were following them around, and our numbers were just exploding. And so it was August of 2020 that we started doing 3 to 4 days a week instead of just events. And like we started doing it residential place. It didn't matter. We did 3 to 4 days a week, and our numbers just exploded. And then in 2020, or 2021, that we kept that trend going, and then we moved to 5 or 6 days a week. And so I honestly never thought that there would be a demand for our food in a casual aspect. I always thought it would have to be around events. And then we learned pretty quickly that there is a demand for it. And that's why we decided we needed 2 units, because I had to turn away a bunch of events. So that's kind of why we've grown, is because of the demand. I mean, not because we plan to grow, but because we see how much potential there is and how much we're having to turn away. And so we keep adding, and honestly, we haven't even hit that. Like in Michigan, we are all over, but I mean, we're at the west side of the state, the south side of the state. We don't actually go east. We go Bay City, but we don't go northeast, southeast. We don't go anywhere north. I've been to Cadillac like once before, and I've been to like Charlevoix for a wedding. But there's a whole untapped market that we haven't been to yet, and so that's where we want to try to expand things to, into areas that we haven't even really. We don't have a presence at all. So, but we just expanded based on our demand. I mean, we were, like I said, I was turning down multiple events weekly, and I was like, man, if we had another unit, we could capitalize on this. So sure. And that's kind of how we got to where we are, just capitalizing on opportunities.
You said Bay City. So last week, well, actually just posted today, we actually had was he the general manager or something of that nature for a beer garden, Drift Beer Garden.
Yeah, Drift. Yep. Was it Steve or Brandon or
Steve?
Yep, Steve. Yeah, he's a cool guy. Yeah, I have a meeting with him this week, actually.
Yeah, so if you want to know a little bit about what they're trying to do, listen to our podcast that dropped today.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's good to know. I'll be prepared for our meeting.
But no, he's definitely looking for food trucks. I know you said you've been there, so that's
yeah. His frustration was he's struggling to have trucks get back to him. I said, well, be a little patient. Everybody's booking right now, so. I think there's a lot of trying to.
I didn't have the greatest experience with them last year either, but they were new, and it's kind of expected. Like,
yeah,
and I think it's all about staff.
That was one of the questions that I asked him, is just, have you talked to the trucks that have been there in the past and got their feedback on their experiences there, and hopefully they've grown. Their staff is we'll say better than it was previously, and hopefully it's a good spot, because I mean a beer garden on the lake or
On
on
the
the
water.
river.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it should be a money.
No
It should be a
brainer.
gold.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, and you know, honestly, I kind of backed out from work with them last year in July, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm not going to stress about this place anymore. I'm not going to worry about it. And then the fact that, you know, the play, I don't know if he's the owner, but I know he has like an interest in it. He was definitely an elevated position compared to the people I was working to. The fact that they reached out and wanted to know what was wrong with the business and how they can improve it said a lot, you know, and the fact that they went along and started improving those problems, that shows a lot.
Absolutely.
If someone's willing to fix their mistakes, you know, and then, so we actually went back that year, and, you know, so we're starting to build a really good relationship with them.
Good.
Awesome. That's
They're a
good to
little
hear.
bit, they're a little bit too far for me, but
Yeah.
I'm glad people I know are thinking about it.
Yeah, no, Jackson needs a food truck park.
We're always taking investors, bud.
Right? Actually, I've been asked. I could probably like, we've been asked. There's 2 other 3 people that are really interested. I mean, I feel like Jackson could definitely support it, man. Like every time we go there, it's just crazy. Like people, every time I go there, I hear the story that I think it was when Rallies came there. They set the record for Rallies grand opening. I hear that every time.
Yeah, and
so,
then I drive past a Rallies because it's on the way to Gordon's, and there's absolutely 0 people.
Yeah,
like,
that too, right?
I'm like, really? Did that really happen? I mean, there's Jackson's. There could be a couple good spots, but we gotta get a lot of the municipalities on board for food trucks first.
Yeah.
You know all about that.
You do the food truck Tuesdays?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, those things are unbelievable. So
yeah, problem is Corey's, our DDA guy is moving on, so now we have to make a relationship with a new DDA person.
Oh, no way, Corey! I didn't know that. Corey's leaving.
Yeah, Corey's staying with the DDA, but moving to a different position. So he's handling both jobs right now.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've reached out to him. I'm like, I don't want to book anything on these Tuesdays. Can you at least give me a date?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, hopefully he's still working on it. He said
you guys got all the insider information.
It's just because we live in the town, bud. That's what it is. That's all I can do. It's my business.
Good, I appreciate it.
Anything you need, let me know, or call Marshall. He'll tell you too.
Yeah.
I think we just have one more question, then we'll let you get back to, you know, running your empire.
Sure. Not there yet, but I don't know, man. I feel like we got a lot to do. We got a lot to grow. Like we got a lot of ambition, and we're focusing on a lot of new things still. And you know, it's kind of humbling to hear that, but at the same time, like I feel like we're just getting started, you know. And I just feel like there's a lot of opportunities, and we messed up a lot. I mean, a lot in the last 2 years, and there's a lot of things where we're improving ourselves. And you know, I do feel like this is going to be a year that we're able to, you know, set a foundation for the growth that we want to see, you know, because we finally bought our first, like that's been actually one of the biggest struggles too. Sorry, I don't know if I need to bring up, but is funding. Everything that we have is bought and paid for, which is awesome, but not awesome, because at the end of the year, after we have this, you know, nest of savings, we have everything saved up, and you know, for you know, whatever, we have to spend it, because if
you muted yourself.
Oh yeah, sorry, I had a phone.
You left us hanging.
If we suspense, if we want to buy a new unit or improve, like that whole cash that is gone, you know, that pile of cash, that money we stocked is gone. And so it's been a struggle. Like we could honestly grow a lot faster. And we try to do some like conventional loans and stuff, and they wanted to see like 5 years of business. And this is going into our 5th year. So hopefully a lot of that changes. I mean, our gross is pretty decent, and you know, we just felt like we should have been able to get loans prior to this, but we haven't. So you know, that was a struggle, is having to pay for everything ahead of, you know, in advance and with cash. And we had to build, save, spend, and that's been our cycle. So yeah, this year we hope that, you know, the foundation's in place to really kick things into overdrive, you know.
Absolutely.
So outside of not opening a truck, what advice would you have for anybody that's looking to open a truck?
That's hilarious. Well, that's honestly, you know, things fell into place for us, and I would do exactly as we did almost. I would start off where your budget allows. I wouldn't go into debt. I would test your menu, whether that you find, you can get temporary permits. Farmers markets are a big place to test your menu, because here's the thing, like, yeah, you may not be getting rich, but you will know the demand of your product right away. You'll know the people you're working with. They'll tell you if it's good or not. I mean, a lot of people aren't shy. They'll tell you, what you can fix, and you need to listen to those people. You need not to get offended by it. So you need to listen. You need to get your product out there, see what the demand is, and that's how we've grown. Really, it's always been on demand. Like, if people hated our food in a tent, I never would have went to a trailer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we were continuing to sell, and that's my number one piece of advice. Like, people say, the old motto is go big or go home. Well, I would start small, and I would get your product out there and see what the feedback is on it, see what the demand is, and then, expand as your demand increases. Because like I said, I've seen too many people go into debt and then their ideas just not work. And then really do your research, because a lot of people getting into this food truck industry don't realize all the regulations, all the licensing. It's getting even harder now. I mean, now you got fire department codes, you got township codes, you got city codes, you got state, you got all these regulations and licensings you got to get, you got to be prepared for all that, So there's a lot of, it's not just going out there and cooking and, handing out food. There's a lot more to it, and I think people aren't usually as prepared as they need to be to do that.
Brandon,
I've
I
been
can
told to
imagine
shut down
everywhere you
twice.
go. Oh, sorry.
No,
I can
it's fine.
imagine everywhere you go, you have an exorbitant amount of just township fees and stuff like that. A question that we didn't really have is how do you justify that? Is it just basically based off the demand that you have in whatever township, whatever area you're going, as to whether you're going to succumb to those township fees?
Yeah, and I need to be better. I'll be honest. I'm, like I said, we're in our 5th year, but it's really only our 3rd full-time year, and I need to be better, because it's so the industry's so fragmented. Like, I don't know every state and township line that I go to. Like, I'll be finding like the city of Saginaw, but then they'll have a county that I'm not okay in, so I'll have to have a licensing and regulation in that county. So it is kind of tough, but we've been doing it long enough now that we've been able to get in contact with these people, whether it's because we were in areas we weren't supposed to be in or what, but we got contact information for all these people. And so I look at the fee, and then I just look at how often we're in that area and how often we get a demand to be there. And like, it's sad to say that we don't come to Jackson as much as we did, because a lot of our business was in Blackman Township, and then they added that fee, and it didn't make sense for us. Like, we were down there doing fundraising events and raising money for schools, and Northwest, we were able to raise like close to $15,000 over 4 events for them. And then the county comes in and adds a fee, and then also, it's not even that fee. I don't know if they stick to this or not, but they also added, like, you can't have food trucks within 1,000 feet of a restaurant, so you got to look at all those regulations too. And then so, like, that actually made that spot that we were operating in inoperable. It was restricted. You couldn't be there anymore. So they kind of took money out of the school's pocket, basically. So you kind of got to be careful, for one, but yeah, it's all based on demand. And sometimes it's just to make a point. Like, I don't want to operate in your county because I don't want to pay your fee, but
And are you currently working? I know you posted in the Facebook group that you started about, is it working with the governor's office about a food truck bill, or some an executive office about a food truck bill or something of that nature?
Yeah, that's why, like, I know your podcast reach a lot of people, and if they're a food truck owner, man, I guess they could hop on our group. But really, to get support for this is, if you look at Georgia, someone brought that up, and that was new to me. So that group has become super resourceful. Georgia just passed a statewide licensing bill, and it benefits the state, but it also covers like your licensing across all counties. They only have to get 1 permit to operate in all counties. Like, there's no boundaries, but it helps the food trucks a lot. For one, obviously fees. It helps them also know, like, what they're getting in. I think that's the biggest problem, man, is that I'm okay in one county, like, especially fire department. Like, I'm okay in one county, but not the other, because they don't have any regulations, statewide regulations. And I know that
Yeah.
they're supposed to maybe, but they don't follow it. I don't know. But like some fire departments are like, they go down and look at your plugs. Like they get down on their hands and knees, they pull out your plugs. They make sure that you're plugging into GFIs. They look at that. They want to, like one of them, like a couple of counties, I have to have CO2 detectors. You have to have your generator like exactly 12 feet away from your units. So like there's some really strict guidelines, and then there's some guys that just don't care, and whether that's based on code or a preference, I'm not sure. I don't, they like all they're going off of are restaurant codes. And so it's antiquated. So the food truck business really, or the food truck industry really doesn't, in Michigan, doesn't have codes updated for mobile vending. You know what I mean? A lot of it's for restaurants, and they've kind of just converted that. And that's kind of the problem, is that we're being treated like restaurants when, we're not like them at all. So.
Right. What was the name of that Facebook group?
It's Entrepreneur. So it's just like it's like an entrepreneur, but entree is the first word. So because that's all we are, right? Food, food guys. So and we're making money off it. And I think an entrepreneur is, at some point I believe this probably started off as a hobby for a lot of people, and then eventually found out a way to make it a business. So.
And then one last thing, where can people find you? Website or social?
Yeah, we're across Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Hibachi Wraps is our handle, HIBACHI Wraps. We also have a website. It's hibachininja.com or hibachivraps.com. You can do either one. And then I obviously I use my app too, which is live GPS locating on the Foodies app. So that's just, if you turn on the locator, you can see where we're operating live. If you don't have social media, because I actually run into a lot of customers that don't have social media, so we still utilize the live food truck locator on the app. But yeah, that's usually social media is how people find us. But and we actually are going to start text messaging campaigns, so they can you can expect that to roll out. So
awesome. Well, thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate it. Lots of good stuff, and I'm super happy for you and your success so far. I have no doubt that you guys will continue to grow and be kind of the top upper echelon of food trucks in Michigan. Yeah, it's nice that you guys have made it. At least the name has made it all the way to this side of the state. That should be a testament to how you're doing. So,
yeah, Josh and Bert too, man. You go by Bert or Skippy?
Either which.
Okay. Well, no, I appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are kind of pioneering this. I don't really know a lot of guys. I mean, you guys opened up, and you guys have impressive story to tell too. And obviously you're doing that, and you're getting the word out there. And, I'm glad to be working with you guys, and that's what it's all about. And, my eyes is working with other food truck owners and helping each other become successful. I mean, like and honestly, I think that's what sets us apart from the restaurant industry. Is the restaurant industry is so cutthroat, but the food truck industry, man, we want to help each other out. We want to make sure we're all successful. And that's what I really love about the industry. And I love what you guys are doing with the podcast and things like that. And, and I think that's all, revolves around getting the word out, helping people, how can we make people the most successful version of who they are, and I think you guys are doing an awesome job. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Brandon. Anytime you want to talk, bud, we're here. So
awesome, man. Appreciate
take care.
you guys.
Have a good day, bud.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot.
See you,
man.
See you, Brandon.
Yeah, bye.
All right. Like 1:30ish, maybe.
Yeah, just shoot me a text whenever.
Okay, man.
I'm good.
Good talk. I like that a lot. He was perfect.
Yeah, he was
He was
I'm
the
sorry
least
to ask about
rambly.
Yeah, I'm sorry to ask about the fees, but he was, when they instituted that one over here, I mean, he there could have been a fight because he was so pissed.
No,
So-
that's good. And I didn't even connect the dots. And I mean, if he wants to come back at a later time, like
Yeah,
after we get through the season and talk about that, and if we can get something going to, that'd be awesome.
yeah, I think
Or
so.
have like a town hall Zoom bigger thing to kind of try to get organized or whatever would be pretty cool. So
Yeah, I think so. Hell, we could do it on here and make it a podcast.
absolutely. Fuck yeah.
Good platform, kidding me?
All right, bud. I will let you know when I get back.
I see, pal.
Bye bye.